Well, thank you for choosing TenJet. This is a brief video to show you how to set up both the TenJet and the console. The first thing you will notice when you open the packaging for the console is the unit itself, obviously, and two other components will be in the box. First, a bag with the foot pedal, which we will need to activate the unit. And then secondly, the cord to hook it to the power outlet. If you turn the unit backwards, you will notice on the bottom left an area to plug the unit. So just hook it up first and put it into the outlet. You will also notice on the right-hand side a ground test. That's for your biomed people to make sure that the unit is grounded properly. Going back to the front of the unit, the first thing to do once it's hooked into the wall is to turn it on with a green button. You should see two yellow lights appear on the left-hand side, and the number 1 should show up on the screen in the middle. That is the lowest setting, and it defaults to that setting every time you turn it on. You will want to adjust this later on for the pressure you will be looking for. The next thing you will want to do is connect the foot pedal. Notice on the connector, you will find a red dot. Simply align it to the red dot on the face of the console, insert, and what you will notice is that the middle yellow light extinguish. Okay, the next step is to open the TenJet box. You will notice in the box two main components. The first one is the accessory kit. It contains everything you need to complete the case. We'll come back to this in a minute. The second element is TenJet. It is obviously sterile packed, so open it according to sterile technique to transfer it into the sterile field. The accessory kit contains a number of important elements. First of all, you'll have the ChloraPrep. Next, you will have the anesthetic delivery, so syringe and needles, a scalpel, and then, as I'm showing here, the probe cover, which includes also a gel. Use some of the gel inside the bag as well as outside the bag, obviously. Finally, you will find the dressings to dress the wound after surgery. These are a couple of components you will need to supply for the case. The first one is a waste container. Use a container that has at least 2 ports on the top, because you will want to keep one open while the other one will be used for waste itself, so the unit vents properly. The sterile saline bag is your standard 1 liter bag for most applications. Although if you have calcific tendon to treat, you may want to choose a 3 liter bag. Transferring the handpiece to the sterile field, you will first want to discard the cover of the packaging. Next, you will notice 3 paper tabs. They're merely there to keep the tubes together, so just discard them as shown on this slide. And then remove all the tube sets from the casing. You will be looking to keep this inside the sterile field, but look for 3 components that will be transferred outside the sterile field to the circulator. The first one will be the waste tube set, as I'm holding here. Next, you will notice what we call the piston, which is what actually activates the fluid pressure inside the TenJet. And finally, the bag spike, which again will be used to provide fluid for the unit. Make sure to keep the TenJet itself on the sterile field or in the sterile field, and you can use the clamp provided here to make sure that it doesn't slide off the Mayo stand. Next, we'll show you how to connect the TenJet to the console. We recommend first starting with the waste canister. just hook up to one of the ports on the top, again, keeping one of the ports open. Next, connect the saline bag. The first thing you will want to do is remove the cap from the spike, and then using proper technique, spike the bag as you would normally spike a bag. Make sure you unclamp the bag, otherwise fluid will not move to the unit. Finally, you will want to connect the piston or cartridge into the unit. Insert in the opening and then turn the black knob. You should hear a click, but more importantly, you will want to look for that yellow light on the left to extinguish. If it does not extinguish, simply remove the unit by pulling the piston out, and then look. What may have happened, and it happens rarely, but what may have happened is the piston got pushed too far in. So just use your thumb, as shown here on the screen, to move the piston out maybe a couple of millimeters. Reinsert, click again, and everything should go fine. Now we will move into priming the unit, the TenJet. The first thing you will want to do is remove the cap, the protective cap, to make sure that fluid can come out. Next, you will want to increase the power setting. We recommend number 7 for general use, and you can move it up and down as needed, depending on the case. If you have calcification, for example, then you may want to move up to 8, 9, or even 10. That simply increases the amount of pressure delivered to the unit. Next thing is you will depress the foot pedal, and you will hear the motor actively pushing fluid in the system. You'll know the unit is primed when two things happen. One is the sound coming out of the motor will drop in pitch. And secondly, you will see a spray, as we'll demonstrate here on the screen. Once that happens, remove your foot from the pedal, and you're ready to start the procedure. Incidentally, if you need to have an extended period of time without using the unit for whatever reason, you may want to take the time to clamp the bag to avoid fluid escaping in an unwanted fashion. Running the unit is fairly simple and straightforward, but you will want to pay close attention to the waste canister to make sure that it does not overflow. With a 1 liter bag, that usually is not the case, but if you're using a 3 liter bag, that could very well happen. Next thing you will want to pay attention to is the saline bag. Normal 1 liter saline bag at normal operating pressures will usually run for about 3 minutes, and you should have enough fluid in the bag to complete the procedure. However, if the procedure runs longer, maybe because you're facing some calcification, or if you're running the unit at a higher level, you could run out of water. Make sure you pay attention to that. You will want to try to avoid running out of water. But if it does happen, just keep in mind, if air gets into the system, as you spike the new bag, you will need to reprime the unit. It may take up to a minute to reprime once there is water, once there is air in the tube set. Finally, after the case, two things to keep in mind. Cut the cord and throw the TenJet into the sharps container. Meanwhile, the tube sets should go into the biohazard container. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much for, again, using and choosing TenJet.